Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I got 811 here. I already did that one. All right, we're gonna clean up all this stuff in my phone on these awful migrants. Not all of them bad, we know that, but they need to go. And Trump getting them out of here, okay? And that's what we focusing on. So I ended the last video talking about TDA. Trump putting them on military flights. Maduro said he wasn't going to take the Venezuelans back. He has since changed his mind in the last couple of days and said they can come back. Trump ain't playing with the people. He done did more in 4 days than this last administration did in 4 years, okay? So now, back into New York. Now, what day? Oh, shoot, let me see what day was this on so I know where I'm at. Okay, we in December 21st. Oh, that's up here. 12 to 1. Okay. Right. Take that off. Feds raid. You did good the last video stream here. Raid. Sunday gang house in New York. On stream here. After tracking just angry gang crew hold in a Bronx apartment after tracking one of them through their ankle monitor. The raid at the apartment building on the edge of Cortora Park, conducted by federal task force made up of Homeland Security and the NYPD. So you mean the NYPD can work with Homeland Security but not ICE? Before Trump took office. Wow. Landed 7 alleged gangbangers in handcuffs, including a troublesome 28-year-old Venezuelan national who was wearing a court-ordered monitoring device that led feds to the crew. Better late than never, equipped a law enforcement source who wondered why Jarwin Caldron was free despite at least 3 busts, a Nassau County conviction, and a federal deportation order. But y'all people in these Democratic sanctuary cities still want to protect even the criminals. How Soros paying y'all? How y'all getting on the back end to commit treason against your own people? This is just unbelievable. This is him. This is actually supervised release looks like. The thing about ankle monitors is that you have to actually monitor nonetheless a significant blow against TDA, the violent gang that snuck into the U.S. with a wave of migrants seeking asylum since 2022 and gained a foothold in New York. Law enforcement officials said the gang has recruited inside tax-funded migrant shelters and runs violent theft and robbery crews while peddling drugs, guns, and women in the 5 boroughs. What we're seeing is this evolution of TDA where they're gone into sanctuary cities. They started to solidify themselves and then they throw tentacles out to multiple other locations where they think that they can continue to make money. They ain't trying to seek asylum because they actually economic migrants anyway. They didn't come here for that. And not all of them bad, I know that. But it only takes one bad apple to spoil a bunch. I think people are actually starting to realize how bad the situation has gotten. According to law enforcement sources, most of the gang members busted in inside the Bronx apartment were sought on multiple warrants where you get locked up, release, locked up, release, locked up, and release. Where do they do that at? How much did George Soros pay y'all? Traitors. Across after crossing the U.S. border with Mexico, then disappearing. And this the apartment building. Among them was Jonica Cardero, 24, who had amassed at least four busts in two states after crossing the border from El Paso in September 22. Still free, still causing havoc. But they ain't laughing now because Trump got them on the military planes headed back to their country. They ain't laughing now. They scared now. Cordero was previously arrested by the NYPD on grand larceny and stolen property charges in July and had two other Big Apple busts in June for reckless endangerment and robbery. On June 28th, he was arrested shoplifting in Greenfield, South Carolina. Another notorious TDA member, 30-year-old Jesus Rando, crossed the border in Paso in September 2022 with his Peruvian wife and child, then headed to Canada. But Canadian authorities denied the family's asylum. They were smart. Request in September 2023 and shipped them back to the U.S., where the Northern Border agents released them pending a immigration hearing. Wow. Now they shipped them back to the U.S. Quintero Granado quickly proved himself an undesirable with four more arrests in New York and New Jersey. The sources say he was first arrested for shoplifting on August 13, 2023, followed by a NYPD bust for grand larceny back in July. On October 1st, he was nabbed on new shoplifting charges in Primus, followed 3 days later by another grand larceny and stolen property arrest. This time is Wake Hill, upstate New York. This how he looked. I don't know if y'all can see that. Yep, you can. Also taken into custody after December 5th Bronx raid was Angel Rodriguez, who was released with a pending court date and crossing the border in September 2023, only to run afoul of the law just 2 months later in Chicago. Rodriguez was arrested in Chicago on November 3rd on shoplifting charges. Still free, he returned to New York City, where he was busted on larceny charges March 30th and June 8th. Yet another migrant gangbanger busted 21-year-old Fernando Diosos was being processed for deportation after getting caught at the border in May. However, the sources said he claimed fear of persecution and was released pending a court date. Even black folk don't get that kind of stuff. They're going to lock us up and keep us there with no bail, everything else. Only to disappear, which resulted in a deportation order in absentia on November 20th. Meanwhile, Cauldron, the migrant fugitives who ankle monitor led the feds to the gang, dodged the law several times before the Bronx raid. Cauldron entered the U.S. at Eagle Pass, Texas in August 2022 and was released with a court date. And that's how he looked. You can't make this up. The sources said he reported to a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement office in the Big Apple the following month, but soon had a rap sheet of his own. He was twice busted on larceny charges in New York and New Jersey. They just moving around the whole country, which led to a conviction in June 2023 after a separate petty larceny conviction in Nassau County on April 24th, 2023. Caldron then blew off a mandatory check in with immigration authorities and was marked as a fugitive, yet somehow remained free despite a subsequent Florida arrest this year for fraud, larceny, and resisting arrest, according to sources. And this is the game. You can't make this up. He was ordered deported on April 25th, but was still on the loose on December 5th. All of the illegal migrants were identified by federal immigration sources as members of the gang TDA, Trinidad Tobago. The gang and the underage lawsuit Diablo, which stands for devil, Diablo de la 42 or Devils of 42nd Street have landed on NYPD radar in recent months, including for a rash of heists in Times Square. Did you see the video where they going around stealing the ATM machines? They done stole 41 ATM machines out of the bodegas in New York. They go in, unplug, and take it right on out. I said, damn. The tiny tiers, some as young as 11, have exploited the state's lax criminal justice and juvenile detention status to remain on the streets despite troubling rap records. What would have happened if y'all would let that lady in? I'm just saying. Mm-mm. I'm just saying. Oh, we got to get out of that. What's the next day I did? 12/21. I thought I had one for 12/22. It's a different topic for a different day. Are we going to get into R. Kelly and Africa Bambaataa so I can get this stuff off my phone? And little baby. Oh, I got to get past this Q ain't. And we're going to do y'all remember Q ain't? Everybody was following Q, and Q was supposed to be a high level government official leaking information. Well, it's a lot of information on Q. Some people saying that Q ain't was actually like Trump or higher level in the thing that was leaking information. I think that'll be interesting. That's a conspiracy theorist. Okay, so then, okay, December 31st. Let me write this down. I must have did that. All right. Mexico detained suspects in death of migration aid near the U.S. border. They were Venezuela. Officials said two men from Venezuela and one from Colombia were arrested. The Mexican migration officer's name was not immediately released. Three suspects were arrested on Monday in the death of a Mexican migration officer who was found earlier in the day with no signs of life, state security and migration officials said. The death of the agent marked a rare case of deadly violence against agents weeks before an expected crackdown on immigration since the election of Donald Trump. State investigators confirmed that the migration agent suffered a head injury and was found with no vital signs. His body also showed signs of violence, according to a statement from the public security officials. The statement said two Venezuelan men had been taken into custody. And you know, them jails in Mexico ain't no joke. But they probably used to, because I'm sure the jails, prison in Venezuela ain't no joke either. Mexican Migration Agency INE said in a separate statement that a third suspect, a Colombian national, was also detained. The slain agent was attacked at a checkpoint just south of Jerez, which is across the border from El Paso, when he asked an unspecified number of foreign nationals for their identification documents. The death of him comes, wait a minute. Hundreds of U.S. bound migrants waited in long lines outside an immigration office in southern Mexico on Monday, hoping to secure safe passage north and enter the U.S. legally before Trump came. Honey, Trump and got rid of that CPB1 app, honey, gone. All appointments canceled. Oh, now it's 12:30. Then, then the Guatemala migrants set the lady on fire on the subway and fanned the flames. So they finally identified her body. The woman killed when she was set on fire in the Brooklyn subway car has been identified by police. She was homeless. On Tuesday, NYPD identified her as 57-year-old Debrina Kawan, originally from Towns River. She is believed to have been homeless and was sleeping on the subway when she was set on fire. How could somebody do that and then fan the flames and watch somebody burn? If that ain't the most horrendous, awful crime, there is no word. Yeah, Trump, get him up out of here, which is what he doing on military flights. Thank you, Trump. Hearts go out to the family. A horrific incident to have to live through. It impacts on how New Yorkers feel, but it really reinforces what I've been saying. People should not be living on our subway system. They should be in a place of care. No matter where she lived, that should not have happened. So they indicted the Guatemala on 4 counts of murder, 1 count of murder in the first degree, 3 counts of murder in the second degree, and arson. He getting life in prison. He ain't never getting out. Oh, that's my neighbor walk. He ain't never getting out. Sebastian Zapata, 33, did not appear in court for prosecutors on January 7th. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, I think I'm done. Okay. What's my next one? Mm, 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 mm. Okay, I'm gonna stop that there. Then I'm gonna get here. I need to get my charger. Let me see. Where did I stop? Here we go. Back on this. Something where a sheriff in Northwest Florida really feels the effects of the open border and the southern border.
Okaloosa County Sheriff Eric Aden speaking out tonight following the second arrest in as many months of illegal aliens accused of committing sex crimes on teenage girls. These are two separate cases. In both instances, the suspects deported only to come back. DNA also helping lead to both arrests. Tonight, both remain in the Okaloosa County Jail with immigration holds. 20-year-old Mauricio Escobar Munez facing serious charges of sexual battery of a child and burglary. According to Okaloosa County Sheriff's investigators, Escobar Munez broke into her home in the middle of the night.
A female, 14-year-old female in our area of Fort Walton Beach, awakens to a Hispanic male unknown to her, hand over her face, speaking in Spanish. He sexually battered her.
Sheriff Eric Aden says the crime happened on April 21st. A DNA profile taken from the victim hit a match on July 11th, leading them to Escobar Munez, who lived less than a mile from the victim. Even more frustrating for the sheriff, the Honduran native had also been deported by Homeland Security in September 2022.
Wow.
It was labeled as denied entry classification. You can see how well that worked, right? To be honest with you, the cell phone that we seized, that we're using as evidence, is probably one that was given to him by our government at the border.
Right.
And as accessory before the maybe this needs to be looked at.
Secretary of Homeland Security. You remember House Republicans tried to impeach him earlier this year. Year-old Jose Chan from Guatemala arrested June 26 for the same charge on a 14-year-old girl in Okaloosa County. This crime happening on February 25th. Sheriff Aden says just 16 days earlier, he too had been deported, only to illegally cross the border and return to Okaloosa County.
It's just frustrating. It's frustrating to see this play out right here in Northwest Florida.
While the problem at the U.S. southern border didn't happen overnight and has become a major issue in the presidential election,
Shameful.
Sheriff Aden points out these are just two cases of many he believes could have been avoided.
There's a pathway to citizenship, and I understand it's an arduous process, but many people do it. They do it the right way. They become great skilled laborers here, business owners here, and they're great American citizens. And we certainly applaud that. But we've got to stop the border of illegal aliens. We're going to hold them accountable. But if they weren't here to begin with, these crimes wouldn't have been committed by them.
Sheriff Aden says both will face charges here and again.
Damn shame. Now this in Ohio.
Thousands of migrants cross into the U.S. at our southern border every month, mainly from Venezuela, Mexico, and the northern triangle nations, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras.
But another group of asylum seekers have their sights specifically set on Cincinnati.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection data indicates that from March to June, more than 85 people from Mauritius arrived in the country, up from just 1,000. 4 months prior.
So that is an area, it's a country in West Africa where people are fleeing reported state violence. The Associated Press reports that the nation was one of the last to criminalize slavery, and the practice is so widely believed to be persistent in parts of the country that several people who spoke to the AP have said police targeted them because of anti-slavery activism.
This population is finding its way to Cincinnati on TikTok, and that immigration loophole in Nicaragua allows relaxed entry requirements and makes a low-cost visa available for purchase without proof of onward travel.
Because they're smuggled illegally. So they're illegal from that country to the U.S. southern border. They travel all the way. They go into Turkey, then Colombia or El Salvador or Nicaragua, you name it. Then they make way to our southern border. And then after crossing into the U.S. seeking asylum, they are settling in Lockland.
Andrea Finney has more.
Some migrants arrive early to beat the crowds.
We just had 1,000 Africans show up in the community.
Mauritanians from West Africa finding their way to Cincinnati, piling in here.
But 100 came to our doors last Friday. And we're wiped out of food.
It was a laborious process to help.
They go through 5,000 countries because when you seek asylum, you're supposed to seek it in your neighboring country. They go through 5,000 countries to get here. Just shameful. But it's come, it done came to an end.
Escalating violent crime among Venezuelan gang members in the city who have gotten into New York.
This is one of the NYPD's biggest challenges right now. Now, the NYPD expects the migrant Venezuelan gang crimes to actually get worse in this city before it gets better.
New York City is busy and exciting. People from all over the world come to live and chase their dreams here. It's a tough city, but New Yorkers are known for being strong and sticking together through hard times. Recently, though, a new problem has shown up in the city. The brutal Venezuelan gang called El Tren de Aragua.
El Tren de Aragua ha dejado una trágica historia delictiva en América Latina y ahora parece tener toda la intención de infiltrarse.
These guys are no joke. T. started out in the prisons of Venezuela, and now they are spreading throughout Latin America and the U.S. New York is under threat as the gang's violence only increases. This gang is known for glorifying violence and abusing vulnerable people. A lot of the people they target are immigrants from Venezuela who came to New York to escape the problems back home. The NYPD is working really hard to stop El Tren de Aragua. As of 2024, they're declaring success.
We're having success. We're taking down networks of individuals. We're up to the task and we'll accomplish it.
So I'm not going to play all that, but I'm just trying to show y'all what's been happening. Okay, that's different. That's different. And I'm doing something separate on the missing migrant children. Okay, that's going to be separate, how immigration affects black folk.
This is a major warning. We are now seeing working as food delivery drivers across America, and they're
I like
showing
Patchy
at your
Country.
door under names and identities that don't belong to them. It says the troubling development is a consequence of more than 1 million Venezuelans, quote, migrants who have entered the U.S. since Joe Biden has been into office. It says it raises security concerns about the safety of the home delivery apps and the consumer's ability to trust who is actually delivering food to their home and family, with customers' personal information potentially being placed in the hands of dangerous street gangs. It says the gangs are allegedly using the delivery apps as a scouting tool, noting which houses have more valuables inside and which houses are more heavily guarded. They are also then getting names, addresses, and phone numbers for more potential scams and harassment or targeting, right? So they are infiltrating these apps with fake identities, and then they're showing up to your home. You're opening up the door to your house. Some of them are coming inside your house. They're delivering your food. It's like they don't even just put it on the doorstep. They're bringing in a bunch of groceries into your kitchen, okay? And potentially gang members are exploiting this, okay? And they're seeing which houses, what they have inside, if they have nice stuff inside, if it's just an old lady living there, if it's just...
And they are doing that. Yes, they are. They have taken over the gig business. Instacart. Shit, my daughter work at Walmart. She talked about how they come in, just throw the phone in your face asking for stuff because they don't speak English. Data on. Oh, I thought I was past this.
Loyal viewers,
viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we're going to talk about the nearly $1 billion budget deficit that the city of Chicago is facing, while at the same time, they are paying through the nose for all these different various programs for illegal immigrants, because this is the cost of a sanctuary city, and by the way, bad progressive government, because not the whole budget deficit is due to the fact that they're spending all this money on the migrants. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Well, we're talking about football and tailgating this fall. Chicago City Council members are facing a difficult challenge: how to fill a nearly $1 billion budget deficit. So joining me now is the City of Chicago Budget Director, Annette Guzman. Annette, thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome. Good morning.
So this is a big one. The city is $982 billion in the hole, and you have said that everything is on the table to eliminate the shortfall.
So right off the top...
Now, wait a minute. But you still defending illegals who causing all kind of havoc, murder, raping, and doing all this. I just want to know how much George Soros is paying for real. That's what I want to know.
When they're feeding the...
That's all I want to know. How much is y'all getting cash?
A test to see if you would comply. They're so proud. They're so excited that the test worked.
Now this part, this part.
Yo, what's good? Skano. I don't want to overcook this immigration issue, but this particular story, it caught my eye. It's interesting because the different dynamics involved in this case. Now, it's coming out of New York. Guy by the name of Elijah Mitchell, 23-year-old Elijah Mitchell, young black man from New York, who was a part-time park worker. His duties include, keeping the park area clean. So apparently, as I had mentioned before, there's been a large influx of immigrations all around the country, particularly New York. In this case, man,
I'm sorry, y'all.
this guy Elijah had some altercation with a homeless immigrant, a Venezuelan immigrant, Arturo Rodriguez. Now, leading up to the shooting, 3 days prior, Elijah shows up to work as usual, and encounters, an area where, the homeless people, because they setting up, little tents and whatnot. They have like a little village in the, park center or whatnot. So Elijah gets perturbed because trying to do his job, and by his word, they are making it very difficult for employees to do their duties because they got, like I said, this mass of this little homeless village, So long story short, Elijah loses his temper. He gets into a verbal altercation with Mr. Rodriguez, and it said that Elijah flashed a gun or went back to his vehicle, returned, with swooped in and calmed the situation down. So 3 days later, Elijah Mitchell returns to the park and allegedly returns to the park where he engages Mr. Rodriguez again. So,
I don't know how.
What was gonna happen? That was eventually what's gonna happen.
I don't know what happened in 1990. There was no plague that was killing children.
Okay, we don't want that. We don't want that. That's Chicago. That's another story.
Come to order. We will now proceed on the 5-minute rule with questions. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And he's a Republican, obviously. But I want to say, as the district court found, the executive branch does not possess the resources necessary to arrest or remove all of the non-citizens covered by the arrest and removal statutes.
Hold on.
That reality is not
Let
an
me get my
anomaly.
charger.
It is a constant. For the last 27 years since those laws were enacted in their current form, all 5 presidential administrations have determined that resource constraints arrest in light of the inevitable restraints and regulation policies. I read that just to say this. 5 administrations have come and gone. We still haven't gotten things done. We're not going to get anything done today from a legislative standpoint, but there's a way to get it done if we can come together and work in a bipartisan way to do it. And so I thank you for the work that you've done and you will continue to do. I yield back the balance.
The gentleman yields back. Before yielding to the gentleman from Arizona, I would just point out bad things may have happened 20 years ago, but obviously more bad things are happening now in light of 10 million people in 3.5 years coming into the country. That's a different dynamic.
Facts.
That's what our witnesses are talking about. I yield to the gentleman from Arizona.
Her mother is issuing a powerful warning to Maryland parents after her daughter was murdered and the suspected killer was allowed to attend a public school.
And a warning for our viewers, parts of this Project Baltimore report by Chris Papps are difficult to hear.
When I start from the very beginning and get to the very end, they're like, wow, that's a really crazy story. And I said, it is a crazy story, but it's a true story.
Tammy Noble's daughter, Kayla Hamilton, died on July 27th, 2022.
It's the worst pain that a parent can ever get.
For more than 2 years, her death has made headlines.
The family of a 20-year-old woman allegedly killed
In a murder that shocked the city of Aberdeen and even made national headlines.
She was killed by a 16-year-old MS-13 gang member from El Salvador who was in America illegally.
She was just found with a cord wrapped around her neck and her mouth, just on the floor like trash.
On the day Kayla died, Aberdeen police quickly identified Walter Martinez as the primary suspect. According to charging documents, Martinez was detained by police and questioned. Detectives had surveillance video and an audio recording that placed Martinez at the scene of the crime. Police read him his Miranda rights.
They knew he was guilty. They just needed that DNA.
But when police sent out Martinez's DNA, it took 6 months to process. And Project Baltimore can now confirm that after Kayla was murdered and police were waiting for the DNA results, Martinez was allowed to enroll as a student and was attending Edgewood High School in Harford County.
That is a shame.
Sitting there putting this monster into high school with other people's children. You're putting children at risk. Look what he did to Kayla.
Here is a timeline of the events surrounding Kayla's murder, according to information Fox 45 gathered from local and federal agencies involved in the investigation. In March 2022, Martinez entered the United States illegally through Texas as an unaccompanied minor. By July 2022, Martinez moved to a mobile home in Aberdeen, where he later killed Kayla. By the fall of 2022, as police waited for the DNA results, Martinez had been placed in foster care with Child and Protective Services. He then enrolled in Edgewood High School. In January 2023, the DNA results came back and Martinez was arrested. In August 2024, he pleaded guilty to murder and was sentenced to 70 years in jail.
Somebody needs to be held accountable. And why did you put him in a public school?
Right.
Why?
Right.
Under Maryland law, since Martinez had not yet been charged with a crime, he could attend Edgewood High School, and authorities, including CPS, did not have to tell the school about his past. But Noble says someone should have. Harford County Public Schools told Fox 45.
That is terrible. I'm going to keep this video and play that on the unaccompanied minors that come over. Child trafficking because he was 16. That is awful. I was just trying to show you what's going on. I think this is going to be with Mayor Eric Adams. I think this is. Let me see.
I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you.
Yeah, okay, so I need to be getting rid of the. That's Chicago. That's going to be on the Chicago. I'm keeping that one. That's Eric Adams. This part. How about this one?
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday morning.
I love him.
Segment.
He out of
We
Chicago.
go deep on shit, and it just gets a little out of control sometimes. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. This may not be your cup of tea.
I love him.
This is what's going on. Today we're going to be talking about a fella, monster, piece of shit, garbage man, whatever you want to call him, worthless scum, that killed 4 people. An illegal alien in New York killed 4 people, 2 babies, and the mom and dad. Lived in a nice, peaceful community, and he took their lives. This is not the first time he's done this either. He's
Right.
one in the Dominican Republic for doing the same exact thing there years ago.
Right.
Here are the 4 of them on some kind of poster board. A 34-year-old illegal alien from the Dominican Republic was arrested Friday for slaying of a family of 4 in upstate New York. Nice, peaceful home in a nice community that they lived in. After an exclusive investigation, police arrested Julio Cesar Pimentel Soriano September 7th. This fucking piece of shit did not just do this incident and that's it. He obviously had some kind of experience doing this before. And who knows the reason why this all happened. This is ironic that, we don't let our own citizens commit these types of crimes and get away with it without killing them or putting them to, the death penalty, whether it be the electric chair back in the day or lethal injection or whatever, life in prison. Yep, we'll let these scumbags roam the earth and keep putting them out over and over and over again. Hopefully this time this guy stays in prison and he dies there. Actually, lethal injection now. Get it over with. That's the type of human being this is. Julio Cesar Pimentel Soriano, 34, from the Dominican Republic, was arrested Saturday, charged with second for August 31st deaths of fame Ubaldo, 30, Marangeli Moreno Santiago, Evangeline Ubaldo Moreno, 4, and Sebastian Ubaldo Moreno, 2. Guy killed a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
That's awful.
They didn't even have time to understand what it was like to really experience life. And their life is taken away from them by some sorry piece of shit. Firefighters found the victims' bodies while putting out multiple fires at their home on Knapp Avenue that morning. Police said it was quickly apparent that they had been killed by something other than the fire. It seems like this family was very well liked, very active in their community. So obviously my condolences go out to the family, friends, and neighbors who had suffered through this. Assistant Director Attorney Perry Douglas said. According to the felony complaint, Pimentel Soriano is accused of using a sharp object to fatally stab each victim in the neck and chest multiple times. Obviously, the cases are troubling. Douglas said they are difficult to deal with. They are difficult to see. Imagine being the prick that does something like this, that just begins to, over and over again, to take somebody's life, and then still be able to have the nerve to walk away and try to live his life like nothing happened. That's a sick individual that does not need to be breathing.
I agree.
In an effort to provide updated information, the Iran Decoit Police Department provides the following release. On August 31st, 2024, Frame Abaldo, Marangeli, Evangeline, and Sebastian.
I think I got that. I think he got life. If I'm not mistaken. Now look at Chicago. Going back to Chicago.
Things that's been kind of big going on. It started in Colorado. Just the other day, I seen them talking about possibly in Chicago. They got this Venezuelan gangs going around, man. You know, I think everybody's seen the video in Chicago, man. You know, what's your take on that? Did you have a chance to see that? Check that out.
Man, I heard they took over 600. Oh my dig, I heard they took over the 61st Clubway.
Is that where that apartment was? Where they were talking about that they went to? That was a couple blocks from Old Block?
Yeah, that's 600.
Now, why my phone tripping all of a sudden?
600, that ain't the front, but that's like 600, though. That's King Drive, 60.
What do you think is going to happen if these gangs actually, try to get wild over there in Chicago?
Man, listen, man. The shorties out here slow as hell, gang. A lot of them just want to catch a body anyway. Did y'all come to the U.S. to die anyway? Y'all could have stayed over there in y'all country and fought y'all war.
So one of the things that's been kind of
what did he say? Did you come to the U.S. to die? Is that what Butter said? Chicago ain't playing with them. It was a whole lot war with the Venezuelans and damn, now I done lost the damn video. Oh my God. The fuck it go down? You can't make this up. You can't make this up. The phone just... Now I got to find the video, but that was FBG Butter. He locked up. Did they come to the U.S. just to die because they could have stayed in their own country? That's what he said. Because it was a war between the Venezuelans and the Chicago black gangs. I can't believe my phone did that. Yes, I can. Okay, here we go. Now let me go on up. Damn, this shit went back to August. I was like... Okay, I did that. Did that.
I'm very familiar with Kamala Harris as the Senator and Attorney General in California, and I can tell you that the words that she has often spoken when it comes to defunding the police and ICE kin to the KKK is demoralizing to law enforcement and those trying to protect our country and protect victims. Thousands coming through a day where I visited and I saw people from Yemen, China coming through. A friend of mine, Jody Jones, his brother was shot and killed at an AM/PM mini mart where an illegal immigrant who had been deported 3 times over found his way back into the United States, attempted a robbery, and shot and killed a man. We're starting to see is an influx of Mandarin, or those from China. We're unraveling a human trafficking case of over 40 women who are involved in sexual prostitution up and down the state of California.
Wow.
Who have found their way across the border and are here illegally, and that case is ongoing.
And you think that this would have stopped if she would have got in? Mm-mm. Okay, that's Eric Adams. I'm gonna put that with another one.
Hey everybody, Economic Ninja. Type 1 if you agree with that. Type 2 if you think I'm completely off base. But the point is, I actually believe that they want to destroy it to buy it all up. It says here, 9 months later, we're talking about this point of the year. We're delighted to see that our relentless efforts to bring attention to this critical topic finally worked, and the continued replacement of native-born workers with immigrants and illegal aliens was finally the biggest political media talking point, as demonstrated by such different news outlets like the Wall Street Journal and such. Bloomberg and other media companies started picking this up. It says here, which came down to the following: you can have illegal immigration, or you can have even more inflation. Don't be angry and just accept the roving games of Venezuelan murderers in your neighborhood if you know what's good for you and you want to keep prices low. What's happening with
now, do that make any sense? We just supposed to accept that. That's why you lost the election. That's why you lost the election.
At this hour, I'm Christina Ohio in Dallas, Texas, and here are your top stories. A taxpayer-funded group is offering $30,000 to people who want to buy homes in Oregon, but there's a catch. You cannot be a United States citizen to get the money. According to the Oregon Citizen, the Hacienda Community Development Corporation is taking part in the taxpayer-funded down payment assistance program that gives tens of thousands of dollars to non-citizens to buy homes in Oregon. The flyer specifically states that American citizens are not eligible.
Now, how many Americans would love to have $30,000 to buy a house? But you giving this to people that don't even speak English. That's why you lost. Don't make no sense.
At this hour, I'm Christina Ohio in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Police in a small rural city in Wisconsin announcing the arrest of a suspected Venezuelan gang member who they say violently and sexually assaulted a woman, injuring a child in the process. 26-year-old Alejandro Jose Zarate is being charged with battery, strangulation, physical abuse of a child, second-degree sexual assault. ICE has confirmed that he is an illegal migrant, and they believe him to be a member of the violent Tren de Aragua gang.
With a
Baltimore, police have
child.
arrested the 153rd non-citizen sex offender of the year in Maryland alone, which is a record. 36-year-old Maday Amaya was deported twice and was convicted of raping a Maryland resident. The Honduran national re-entered the country as a getaway. And police in Virginia have confirmed that the suspect arrested for abducting a high school student in broad daylight and impersonating a police officer is in fact an illegal migrant from Peru. Police identified 23-year-old Jesus Enrique Ramirez Cabrera of Manassas, Virginia, as a suspect in the incident. ICE confirmed that he was arrested in 2023 for illegally coming into the country. He was released with a notice to appear for a hearing and arrested less than a year later. Walt Amer, the president and CEO of Waffle House and member of the board of trustees for the Atlanta Police Foundation, has
Awful. That's what we, yeah. Thank you for deporting them, Trump. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up.
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Federal and city parks authorities are cracking down on animal sacrifices in New York City's Jamaica Bay after a report last week by the New York Post exposing the animal killings in the area. Now the National Parks Service is beefing up patrols and installing lights in the area to stop people who are torturing and killing animals at night. Councilwoman Joanne Ariola from Queens applauding the move after Park Services announced additional police would be patrolling the area. Animal rescuers said at least 8 animals were found dead or maimed in the last month. Pennsylvania voters could have their mail-in ballots thrown out if they
Now
do
that's
not.
that voodoo sacrifices. That's the Haitians or whoever else practice, because Latinos practice Santeria, which is a form of voodoo as well. You can't make this up.
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories. An El Paso Democrat was shut down after making some insulting comments to the victims of crimes stemming from the border crisis and illegal migrants. It happened during a House Judiciary Committee hearing when women whose children were murdered by violent illegal migrants were told by the representative that they're simply being exploited by Republicans. Take a listen.
Colleagues who are exploiting people's pain for political purposes.
It's insulting that you would say that to these families, that you would make an assumption that they're being used or exploited anyway. Not one time when her daughter was murdered and I was helping her navigate the criminal justice system did one Democrat call me to offer their assistance. It was only Republicans. So it's insulting. No, please don't speak over me because I'm still talking. These people lost loved ones. They lost children. And don't make an assumption that we're being used. That is insulting.
A slump in business and declining sales has pushed the new CEO of
I'm gonna
Starbucks to
keep
make
that, and I'm gonna put what date is that? 16. That's gonna go for the children. Oh, where is that? Child trafficking. What is this? This is a damn shame. What's going on? I'm gonna keep that because I'm gonna play that again.
I can say to you.
Oh, that's when I do Brandon Johnson, bitch. Oh my, he is awful.
Fox News releasing a post either today or last night that reveals as follows. Per newly released Border Patrol.
Bring in legal. I mean, if you come through the legal.
Okay, that's gonna go on another one with Brandon Johnson. Yeah, that one will go there.
You will come to order. We will now proceed under the 5-minute rule with questions. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. McClinton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Boudreau, one of the obvious and most frightening aspects of this open border is the migration of the most violent gangs in the world into our community, such as MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. You said that the cartels are already trying to sink roots into your community. Could you go a little bit more into the details of what you're dealing with now in Tulare County?
Yes, sir. What's interesting is that the cartels have actually infiltrated within California, even within agricultural businesses and businesses up and down the state of California. They are very smart, very good at what they do. They're businessmen. They're also very dangerous and violent, and they lead by intimidation and fear. In our county alone, the cartel that we dismantled was the Sinaloa cartel. The DEA is, of the 50 people we arrested, the DEA is still hunting down the primary suspect who actually lives in Sinaloa, Mexico. During the course of this investigation, we did learn that homicides had taken place up and down the state, as well as in the central San Joaquin Valley.
And did you say that one suspect was responsible for 25 murders?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
In another case,
Wow.
This is what you're seeing
But
in
we supposed
California
to,
today in real time.
Real time.
and you government officials, Democrats, don't want to protect these illegals. You can't make this up. No, they gotta go. They got to get the hell up out of here.
Argentina, Colombia, Venezuela, and El Salvador announced protective measures as a public health emergency and international concern. Let me read what we wrote. Says the decision was taken anonymously by the WHO Emergency Committee and concerns that more deadly and transmissible strain of the virus, formerly known as monkeypox, has reached previously unaffected African regions. The African Centers Disease Control and Prevention declared the outbreak continental public health emergency after having recorded 15,000 cases, 406 deaths in the diagnosis and 19% in deaths compared to the same period last year. Monkeypox in Europe. You go to monkeypox in Europe, I will skip that one, but monkeypox in Europe is spreading. And ultimately, let me just read of the virus according of the country's public health agency.
But what's happening, the reason why he did this, the open borders, these diseases are coming into the United States and other places where they're letting the illegals come in. Not all of them are doing it. No, they're not. That's not what we're saying.
Chicago's manufacturing facility. Looks like a nurse.
They are the latest snapshots of challenges from an influx of 18-year-old was raped. El Paso's Gateway Hotel forced to shut down after a lawsuit. The county attorney's office says it was allowing illegal activity, including consuming drugs and gang activity, from members of Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang now declared a foreign terrorist organization by Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
TDA is notorious for their brutal violence and murder, and their extortion, bribery, and trafficking of drugs, weapons, and even humans.
In the state of Ohio, particularly in Springfield, Haitian migrants have relied a lot on public resources, but are also credited with helping the local economy grow.
I met this morning with a number of business people.
And they did that in Springfield.
The Dangerous Venezuela gang, Tren de Aragua, also known as TDA, is making headlines again after District Attorney Bill Hicks spoke out about their growing presence right here in El Paso. Thank you so much for tuning in to KTSM 9 News at 10. I'm Monica Cortez.
And I'm Andy Morgan. The DA holding a press conference today, and it's all amid growing concerns that this transnational criminal organization is using El Paso as a stepping stone to reach other parts of the country. KTSM 9 News reporter Oriana Botero has been following this story closely. Joins us with what he had to say. Oriana.
Well, Anka, today's press conference came just after Governor Greg Abbott declared Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization and ordered the state's Department of Public Safety to ramp up efforts against the gang's operations right here in Texas. And District Attorney Bill Hicks says that Tren de Aragua is not only expanding across the border. Take a listen.
El Paso is not ground zero for TDA activity. We have what we believe to be TDA activity in El Paso. But so does Dallas, so does Houston, so does Colorado. So other communities are experiencing TDA activity.
And that's why Trump and MS-13 are now labeled as terrorist groups. No, I think I got that. Do I got that on my human? I don't think this is kids. Let me see.
Tren de Aragua, that's the name of the gang that's been associated with violent crimes popping up across the country. The News 4i team has been working to get you answers on how officials will address the threat here in San Antonio. Today, Governor Abbott's press conference addressed just that.
Our top priority is the security and the safety of our fellow Texans.
During today's news conference in Houston, Governor Abbott announced the launch of a new database to consolidate the amount of arrests made of members of the gang Tren de Aragua, who he also designated a terrorist organization.
Today, I'm announcing what Texas is doing to stop the spread of TDA in our state.
For months, News 4 San Antonio has been covering the increasing trend of violent cases in town that are linked to this Venezuelan gang. Arrests of members have already been made in cities like El Paso, and less than a month ago, one individual associated with Tren de Aragua was part of the arrests made for a sex trafficking ring here in San Antonio. The I-Team's Jay Avila spoke with a business owner who moved his business away from the Migrant Resource Center out of fear.
I was very concerned for the safety of my employees. Now in my new location, it's not an issue.
We've also worked to get answers from law enforcement experts. We spoke with former Homeland Security agent Ari Jimenez about Tren de Aragua. He told us the situation is serious and will keep getting worse if not addressed.
We started seeing them in the past couple of years coming into the U.S. So unfortunately, within the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to have a very violent gang.
Wow.
Operating in
Could you imagine if Trump didn't get in? That's all I got to say. I'm going to do Chicago separate. No, I'm going to do this one. Black woman unalive. Oh, shoot, it's unavailable. I got to delete it anyway. Dang, that was a good one. Dang, that's unavailable. Wow. Dang.
Big breaking emergency news. A small town in Maine has received an influx of thousands of people arriving from buses and from other countries claiming asylum, and the city is being overwhelmed. They are also building dozens and dozens of apartment complexes throughout the city as well to house the new arrivals, and citizens are upset about it. So let's get into the details here. Really quick, guys, please just hit that like and hit that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos a day, keeping you guys updated on this big news, and it just helps to get these warnings out. I appreciate that. So this is happening right now, right outside of Portland, Maine, right? We are seeing a major influx and residents are upset. This is in Brunswick, and they held a town hall meeting and they were giving their opinions on the massive apartment complexes that have been building all across the city. All right, so I want you to listen to this guy really quick. And they're calling this the quote Taj Mahal of that's what residents are saying right now in Brunswick.
Hey, do I work too much? What's the discrimination factor? Where's, like I said in that last meeting, nobody got a hold of me. Where is my 2 years free stuff?
Right. Where's my free stuff?
That's what residents.
Right. Where's my free? Where's our Americans' free stuff? I want to finish out this
South American street gang, Trende Aragua, has rapidly gained a foothold in New York City, exploiting the migrant crisis to build a criminal empire. Originally from Venezuela, the gang has infiltrated city shelters, running illegal operations like drug trafficking, armed robberies, and prostitution right under the noses of authorities. Their influence stretches from Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue, where migrant prostitutes now walk the streets day and night, to Randall's Island, an epicenter of their operations. Trende Aragua uses clever tactics to blend in. Gang members disguise themselves as food delivery workers, riding mopeds and carrying delivery bags filled with drugs and weapons, allowing them to commit crimes while hiding in plain sight. Recently, a 24-hour brothel was busted by NYPD, with sources suggesting it was linked to the gang. The gang preys on vulnerable young migrants, forcing them into criminal activity. Many members are as young as 15 and operate in groups, committing violent robberies across the city. In one recent spree, a man was brutally beaten and robbed by a group of 10 gang members for his phone and valuables. Another victim, relaxing in Central Park, was held at knife point and forced to give up his phone and $80. Trende Aragua has no issue about targeting average New Yorkers and even law enforcement.
That remind me of that 15-year-old who shot back at the police in New York. That's why.
Is this gang and how long have they been operating?
Sure. So Trende Aragua is a Venezuelan gang that originated actually in a prison in Venezuela. And we don't know exactly when, but we know they've been operating for at least a decade. And since starting in Venezuela, they've spread into other South American countries, including Colombia and Chile, as well as into Central America and parts of the United States.
How concerned should Texans be? Is this a major public safety threat?
I think that it's hard to know exactly how much of a threat that they are, just because we don't really have data on the exact number of arrests that have been made of gang members. We do know that about 3,000 immigrants from Venezuela have been arrested in Texas.
3,000!
Smuggling, which is what that gang is known for, human smuggling and other criminal activity that targets migrants, like kidnapping, extortion, drug trafficking. There isn't a database that exists that tracks who is
3,000 arrested in Texas. This why y'all lost. Okay, that's Chicago. That's Adams. Okay, that's Adams. We're not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to hold that for what day this is? This is on child trafficking. Okay, let me show. Okay, I did that already. Delete that. Delete that.
There is widespread evidence the vast majority of migrants coming to the United States do so for the same reason as this Ecuadorian man we met in New York City.
La situación en Ecuador está bastante grave.
A dangerous situation at home and the hope of work and security here. And while the numbers of those arriving at our southern border has dropped dramatically, there are growing concerns about who's coming as part of the Biden administration's parole program, bringing those from 4 countries here by plane. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol data show more than 530,000 migrants have taken part.
Wow.
Includes more than 117,000 from Venezuela, a country with which the United States has no diplomatic
So
relationship.
your own government
which means
flew them
background
in.
information about them or their prior criminal history is hard to come by.
It makes it so easy for this TDA Venezuela gang that's so treacherous to come to the United States and set up bases. There are bases in New York and other states across the country, and now including even in the state of Texas.
The New York Times reporting members of Tren de Aragua are living and recruiting new members inside the city's migrant shelters. In Chicago, local media is reporting on gang turf wars, a phenomenon predicted by a former border chief in Texas.
What happens when these are going head to head to gangs like that are just as powerful? And what you have a big mess. You have gangs fighting gangs.
Or black gangs or other Latino gangs.
With the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke.
The city of Chicago has spent more than $400 million.
And it has.
Tonight confirming that it's opening another migrant shelter.
Despite months of protests, furniture and other items are being placed at the location in Riverdale.
Another day and another shelter seemingly pops up out of nowhere. But while residents might be upset, the building, like many of the city's shelters, wasn't being used for anything and will now get people off the street. However, prominent critics are now saying the flow of asylum seekers is too much and may force people to leave town. But is that really true, or could there be another reason, any reason at all, for why folks might want to leave New York City?
For months now, residents have been conflicted by the city's plans to bring migrants into their community.
We're worried about, how it's going to affect the neighborhood.
I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're coming from.
Police are trying to tackle the rapidly escalating violent crime among Venezuelan gang members in the city who have gotten into New York.
The NYPD says Tren de Aragua has been making it over the border with the migrant influx and is getting established in New York.
For the past 10 minutes, I've been surrounded.
Reporter Olivia Reingold posted video. She was surrounded while covering the protest.
I'm scared. I want them here.
There were 3 arrests as protesters fought with the NYPD. Multiple arrests.
You got people fleeing the city.
Gunfights on the streets to violent gangs taking over apartment buildings and charging rent to tenants. Aurora, Colorado is in trouble. Today and across the globe, we're going to be looking at how Venezuelan migrants broke a city. There's much more than meets the eye, and the problem stems from a larger issue involving other states and other U.S. cities. So let's get into it. Overall context of the migrant crisis in the United States. Before we get into the details of the Aurora migrant situation, let's take a brief look at this crisis as a whole. The United States has grappled with a migrant crisis for many years, marked by the influx of individuals and families fleeing violence, persecution, and economic turmoil in their home countries. While many people tend to associate this crisis primarily with migrants crossing from Mexico, the landscape of migration has become increasingly diverse, particularly with a significant surge in Venezuelan migrants seeking refuge. These individuals are escaping a devastating combination of political repression, economic collapse, and humanitarian crisis in Venezuela, as they journey toward the United States, often traversing multiple countries to reach their display of policy, perception, and reality.
Okay, that's going to take too long. I'm just trying to finish and get through this stuff for September.
South American street gang has rapidly reportedly gained a foothold in New York City, exploiting the migrant crisis to build a violent criminal empire. Originally from Venezuela, the gang has infiltrated city shelters right under the noses of authorities.
So a dangerous gang has infiltrated shelters in New York City and is now using one of them as their headquarters. And although over 200,000 asylum seekers have come here without the intention of joining gangs or committing crime, this gang from Venezuela is forcing people in our shelters to join them, and they aren't taking no for an answer.
America has allowed gangs to enter our country.
Randall's Island, where a large tent city has been set up to accommodate migrants, has become a recruitment hub for the gang. Prende Aragua uses fear tactics to strong arm migrants into joining, threatening their families back home if they resist. Do you feel safe at the shelter?
100% no. Sometimes people just fight without no reason.
Now, this Trinidad Agua gang that originates in Venezuela has now made the United States their second home. This gang now hidden in plain sight within 1 million Venezuelans that have entered the country.
I grew up in this neighborhood. I've been here for 31 years. I was born and raised here, and what I'm seeing here today is not what I grew up seeing.
This is turning into a red light district. There's no moral compass anymore.
Their influence stretches from Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue to Randall's Island and epicenter of their operation. Prende Aragua uses clever tactics to blend in. Gang members disguise themselves as food delivery workers, riding mopeds and carrying delivery bags filled with weapons, allowing them to commit crimes while hiding in plain sight.
So it seems the worst of criminals are taking advantage of New York City's asylum.
Yeah, y'all got to get the hell out here. Y'all got to go. You got to get out of here. Now, this is shameful.
Now, a disturbing development on the border crisis. Wait until you hear this. The director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement confirmed more than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border in the United States. Letter here. Hello, John in Washington. You're with Sandra.
Which means they are here, and it's just an unbelievable development. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. Good to be with you, John. This is America Reports. Let's get right to Bill Maluja. He's got this news for us. He's live out of Douglas, Arizona right now, where Vice President Kamala Harris is set to visit later this afternoon. Bill, the details of this news. What do you have?
Yeah, and Sandra, bear with me. We just got these numbers moments ago, but it's a jaw dropper to say the least. So to set the stage here, let me just explain what these numbers mean. ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered deported from the country by a judge, but are still here roaming the country. So keep
Wow.
non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime.
Wow.
Remember, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide.
Wow.
Non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there.
And, man, this is awful. I'm going to delete that one. This is awful. Thank you, Trump. I was saying that. I'm not going to talk about that. And what they Yep, I'm gonna end this there. I'm coming back with Africa Bombada. All right back. I'm getting all this. Leave a y'all. Thank you for my new subscribers. I'm about to come back with Aunt Kelly.